Hello and welcome to episode 111. That's 111. As in we finally won, Chris. We've finally beaten Jason Voorhees.
Yes.
This is the How to Survive podcast. My name's Joe. And joining me, his voice is like velvet, so appreciate it. Chris Morris, hello.
Hello.
Friday the 13th this week.
Yeah.
The remake, the reboot.
2009 reboot, I suppose.
Yeah. The version.
Hmm.
And this marks the end of our march of
Towards the abyss.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
120 weeks. Well,
Yeah.
no, 111 weeks, obviously.
Yeah. 111 weeks. Exactly.
It's been a long time coming. 111 weeks
Yeah.
to wait for this final installment of the Friday the 13th saga.
Yeah.
And mercifully, they cancelled the next in the franchise.
Yeah, which was due next month, in fact. So it would have been perfect timing.
Yeah.
However, they've binned it right off.
Yeah. Rightly so, I imagine. So we're going to talk about the movie. And we're going to talk about the franchise as a whole because, you know, this is a celebration. We've finally lifted the curse.
Yeah.
It's been on us for all this time.
Yeah. And we can finally sink back underneath the waves.
Yeah.
Into the bottom of Crystal Lake to be at peace once again.
Yeah. We'll do all that. But first, we'll recap the plot. And then, once we've talked about it enough, we'll talk about how we would survive if we found ourselves living in the 2009 version of Friday the 13th.
And there may be one or two little treats in store for you, Joe, because how much do you really remember about the Friday the 13th franchise?
As little as possible.
We'll find out.
It's called repression.
Yeah, exactly. Well, consider yourself about to be re-immersed.
And on with the show.
You won't believe my parents' cabin.
Here we are. Very nice, huh?
Just get your ass to the door and don't
Ready?
Hey, I'm not from around here, but I'm looking for my sister. She's gone missing. Have you seen her?
She ain't missing. She's dead. People go missing around here, they're gone for good. There's something out there.
We gotta get out of here. Come on, you guys. Oh my god.
This place is called Camp Crystal Lake.
So our story begins on a specific date. And that date surely is now etched into our memories more prominently than the birthdays of even our most cherished loved ones.
Yes.
That is June...
June 13th.
June 13th, which was a Friday. Friday the 13th,
Yeah.
June 1980.
Yeah.
Following a night of cold-blooded murder, a final showdown is taking place on the bank of Crystal Lake. A camp counselor, who we know to be Alice, and a crazed murderer called Pamela Voorhees.
It's not Alice though, is it? Because it's although is it? I don't know.
My interpretation is that it's just basically picking up from the events of the end of Friday the 13th
But it's not though, because Jason is a child.
Yeah, but he
Therefore,
he was in...
No, he wasn't, because he went and exacted revenge on the woman who killed his mother.
Yeah, but he was a child at the end of... We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Fine.
This is the rich debate that's going to come up later on.
Great.
We know, we assume that she's Alice.
She's a camp counselor and she beheads Mrs. Voorhees.
Yeah.
As Jason looks on.
Yeah.
Who is a child.
Jason is a child.
Yeah.
Yeah. 30 years later... A group of... Well, it's important to say, by the way, the reason Pamela Voorhees is there killing people is because she thinks Jason is dead.
Yeah, and and is holding the camp counselors responsible.
Yeah.
Which clearly they're not, because...
He's not dead. He's looking on from the bushes.
Yes.
30 years later...
This is the first 5 minutes of the film.
Which is interspersed with strobe lighting and the
credits,
the production manager, photography consultant. It's really painful.
In like Courier font as well. Did you notice that? It's like the most generic bog standard font.
Awful.
Anyway,
30 years later, a group of teenage friends head into the woods surrounding Crystal Lake. Most of the group most of the group seek a night of getting drunk and having sex, but two of the group are searching for a rumored marijuana plantation, which they plan to secretly harvest in order to sell it on for profit.
Yeah.
Jason Voorhees emerges from the woods and kills them all, saving one girl, Whitney, for last. Despite showing us the violent and upsetting wound detail and torturous deaths of the rest of the group, the camera cuts away to a title screen a split second before Jason's machete makes contact with Whitney's defenseless body.
Yeah, a full 23-minute pre-title sequence.
Yeah.
23 minutes. That is, like a third of the film
Yep.
before you even see the title.
Yeah.
Really bizarre.
It's in case you've walked into the wrong cinema screen, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of the strangest things I've ever seen.
Yeah. Anyway, you don't actually see the machete make contact with her, but she's definitely dead, right?
Yeah,
There's no way she wouldn't be.
Why would he spare her after all?
It was in like full swing at full power.
Yeah.
And he couldn't have pulled
He's
out.
an athletic man, but
Yeah.
you know, like you can't stop momentum in that way.
No, exactly. 6 weeks later, a group of friends are on their way to Camp Crystal Lake to enjoy a night of getting drunk and having sex.
Yes.
As is tradition, they are personality vacuums.
Yes.
But for the sake of narrative, the most important ones are Jenna and her boyfriend Trent, whose parents' holiday home they plan to stay at that night.
Mm-hmm.
En route, the group meets Clay Miller. Now, Clay is Whitney's brother. Whitney was the girl who was definitely killed
Yeah.
minutes before.
Yeah.
And he's searching for her.
But this is 6 months down the line.
Yeah.
Basically.
He's searching for her, convinced that she's still alive. For no particular reason, Trent and Clay begin arguing.
Mm-hmm.
Clay visits various members of the town surrounding Crystal Lake, but is disappointed to find that everyone believes Whitney is definitely dead,
Mm-hmm.
including us, the audience, who saw her pretty much die, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Jason begins killing members of the group from before, the revelers, who have now arrived at Trent's parents' house. And he also kills a member of the town who has learning disabilities.
Mm-hmm. All good fun.
Yeah. On his rounds, Clay arrives at Trent's place and Jenna invites him in. Trent becomes hostile and throws him out immediately, causing Jenna to volunteer to search for Whitney with Clay on the other side of the lake.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you do, isn't it? If some stranger shows up looking for his dead sister,
Mm-hmm.
you go, yeah, I'll come with you.
Well, they've met once, and she was clearly sympathetic to the fact that he was looking for his sister.
Yeah, and
So she's being set up as like the nice
yeah,
girl.
the goody two shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the character that we care about.
Yep.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
definitely the female protagonist.
Yeah.
And therefore the one that we would, the peril, her peril is the peril that we care about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And she'll surely survive this. As they search for Whitney, they come across a cabin in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Some clever camera work reveals that Whitney is being kept deep underground.
Oh my God.
She wasn't dead after all. Some thin storytelling suggests that Jason is keeping her captive because she looks a bit like his mother did when she was younger.
Yeah. And she had the pendant that his mother wore.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's a part of it.
Yeah, maybe. Clay and Jenna see Jason carrying a body and they retreat to the relative safety of Trent's house. Trent is having passionate sex with another member of the party, but this doesn't bother his girlfriend Jenna, who is
surely he's having sex with his member.
yeah, his member and another member, members only. That's like classic. That's a bit of Partridge, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. Hopefully he won't get dismembered. Joe.
It doesn't bother his girlfriend Jenna, who is more interested in keeping everyone alive, but it's no good, and Jason kills everyone anyway. Clay and Jenna, however, escape and somehow uncover Whitney underground. They free her, but as they escape the basement, Jason shows up and kills Jenna. So a protracted fight begins, ending, as fate would have it, in a barn,
Yeah,
as these things often do.
sure.
The Miller siblings are no match for Jason's strength, but he's a lumbering idiot and is soon hanged from the rafters by a chain being fed into a wood chipper.
Yeah. Well, she distracts him by basically talking to him as if she's his mother,
Yeah.
which is
Classic.
the seed is sown earlier in the film when
Yeah.
she, again, speaks in a sort of matriarchal fashion and it sort of like freaks him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she says his name.
Yeah.
I mean,
but in like a sort of motherly, motherly tone, I suppose.
Jason! Like that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was just a sound effect from the film.
Anyway, he's not dead. He breaks free and they fight some more, but then he is eventually killed. The next morning, the siblings give Jason a water burial for some reason.
Yeah,
Kick him into the lake.
sure.
And as his body floats to the bottom of the lake, he simultaneously jumps out of the lake, smashing up through the boardwalk and grabbing Whitney.
Mm-hmm.
And then cut
that's-
to credits. That's
Yeah,
it.
and that's it. We are freed from the curse.
Yeah, this has been the How to Survive podcast.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. See you never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the end of the podcast.
So, Chris, with 11 movies before it,
Yeah.
this was really something, wasn't it? This was it was a slog to get through, all of them, but a labour of love, I'd say.
The ending, as you said, there's 11 films as part of this franchise before this one, and I think the ending sort of sums up what's wrong with this film in that it's like a slave to being sort of making like mythological sense rather than sort of actual sense.
Right, yeah.
So like at the end of the film, Jason is dead, and I think we even see like bits of his head being chewed up by the wood chipper.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So they carry, for some reason, as you said, right? And I don't want to spoil something that I want to bring up later.
Right. Stay
You
tuned for
might
that.
you might be able to guess. For some reason, they drag his body down to the lake and then like roll it into the lake, which makes sense if you're a fan of the franchise because, or like us, you've just watched them. Because, there's this whole mythology around Camp Crystal, around the lake, Crystal Lake. Whereas for them, it makes no sense.
No.
And neither does the fact that he suddenly reanimates and like grabs Whitney, which again makes sense when you've seen all the other films.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, it's just like a generic horror, like jump scare to end the film with.
Yeah.
When really he's not been shown to be supernatural at all through the film before this point, nor has there been any hint that he might be. Like, this might be a world where these sorts of things could happen. So it's just a strange note to end the film on.
Yeah, they played it completely straight before that.
Well, no, but like he is you're
I'm being facetious.
yeah, exactly. You've got what I would call a shit-eating grin on your face when you say that. But like he is supposed to be like a, Bear Grylls gone wrong type more than like the zombie, like lumbering,
Teleporting.
yeah, exactly, that we see in the other films. So like he is supposed to be like just a very capable, like evil man in this, as opposed to, a revenant.
Yeah, right. I agree with you. I think, it's certainly a slave to its mythology. And where there's parts that we might say act as fan service, exploring his house and finding his mother's head, for instance, or even the final scene when Trent dies, the car pulls over and he kind of waves Trent on.
Yeah.
In a way that it reminds you of the first film when Annie was waved onto the car and actually it was Mrs. Voorhees who killed her.
Right.
But there's various sort of vague references to the old saga.
I mean,
the issue with that is if you haven't seen them, you don't care and you wouldn't know. And if you have seen them, they're not fan servicey enough to be worth including. Yeah. It's not like C-3PO showing up in Rogue One, right? Yeah. Which is like, oh, right, I can see why they did that.
Which we loved.
If Crazy Ralph had been in this film, you'd go like, okay, I get why they've done that because it's giving people who are a fan of the series something to like enjoy.
Sure.
In an otherwise pretty unenjoyable film.
But in this one, it's like there's no reason to have it as a hockey mask other than the fact that that's what the series has.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
There's no reason for him to be a resurrectable presence other than that's what's happened before in the series. Do you know what I mean? Like,
exactly. It's the hockey mask is picked up in this film and he wears a burlap sack on his head like he did in Friday the 13th 2.
Yeah, so this is like basically a remake of the first 3 or 4 films, I would say.
Yeah.
Like all in one, because you've got basically the ending of the first film, as you said. Mm-hmm. Then you've got Friday the 13th Part 2, Jason, where he's wearing a burlap sack. Then Friday the 13th Part 3, where he's got the hockey mask. Mm-hmm. You've got like the house reminds me very much of Higgins Haven
Yeah.
from 3, I think
yeah,
it is.
I agree with that.
The final fight in a barn is very part 3.
Yeah.
And then part 4 has the brother looking for his sister who's previously been killed
Yep.
by Jason. And then part 2 has the ending where he suddenly returns to life at the end and
Yeah.
like grabs someone, and then it's not really explained.
Well, part 1 is him literally jumping out of the lake.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It's
Yeah.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
What I would say though, also Trent's death, he gets impaled on like a combine harvester, which is obviously how Roy Burns met his
Right,
end.
yeah, which is of course the most important part of the franchise.
Yeah.
The character Roy Burns,
Yes.
who temporarily replaced Jason in Friday the 13th Part 5.
Yeah. Probably my favourite one.
Yeah,
Um,
everyone's favorite one, surely.
I'm taking it, by the way, that you didn't like it.
No, it's not very good, is it? It's like it's not only is it sort of quite rubbish, but it's quite weird rubbish because it's trying to do that like really schlocky, hammy slasher movie that Friday the 13th so obviously is, but do it in a sort of like post Saw universe.
Yeah, it's that Michael Bay taking on horror movies. Look,
Right, yeah. And Michael Bay's the producer, and it's got that sort of dirty, like porno aesthetic that all of his films have. You know, like fucking Bree and Trent having sex for like what in the logic of the film seems to be about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And like her filming it for some reason. And
Yeah.
on the Friday the 13th Wikia, which obviously I visit every day, it says that Bree is filming that with the intention of blackmailing him when she becomes pregnant with his child.
Oh, that's really clear.
Yeah, but there's absolutely nothing in the film that suggests that,
No,
is there?
no.
Like, there's not something I
It's just like
missed.
they're two people having sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So someone, weird that a Friday the 13th Wikia page might have an overactive imagination. It's strange.
Yeah. Well, you said Michael Bay's producer, correct? Sean
Yeah.
S. Cunningham also producing.
Yeah, but do you think that's like a sort of legacy thing?
I think he probably was involved,
Right.
based on the fact that the title sequence is about 45 minutes long.
Right.
That's the only thing. Directed by Marcus Nispel.
Okay.
You're familiar with him?
Not entirely.
Well, his previous works include Conan the Barbarian from 2011.
So the remake.
Yeah, the
Right.
remake. Not the Arnold one.
Right. Is that the one with The Rock? Is it?
I think so, yeah.
Right.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake.
Right.
Which-
Detecting a theme here.
yeah. Exeter.
Yeah. Nice town.
Yeah. Yep. I mean the movie though, the thriller horror
Right.
from
No, I've never heard of it.
2015.
Okay.
Rated 18.
Right.
It's about an abandoned asylum
Sure.
where some teenagers perform an occult ritual that leads to a violent possession.
Great.
Pathfinder.
Right. So not a scintillating body of work.
Well, he adapted Dean Koontz's version of Frankenstein.
Okay.
So
Great.
but the best of all, obviously, and I mean the very best, is the very best of Cher, a video production he did in 2004.
Yeah. All sorts of horror movies.
Yeah. That's Marcus Nispel, the director of Friday the 13th.
Sure.
There's been more people have played Jason Voorhees than have played James Bond, right? That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And with a franchise of that clout, who would you pick to direct it? You know, they talked, James Bond, they're talking about, we'll get
Danny
Danny
Boyle,
Boyle, we'll
yeah.
get,
Christopher Nolan.
yeah,
Yeah.
Sam Mendes, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
With the franchise of that clout, which obviously Friday the 13th does have as much clout as James Bond, that's clear.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Would you pick Marcus Nispel to direct James Bond?
Christopher Nolan, surely. In fairness, the budget for the whole franchise was 80 million. That's how much they've spent over the course of 12 films. And they've made like in excess of 450 million. So like obviously they don't have the budget for someone who's like an very good director, like we're sort of facetiously talking about.
You say very good. I mean, good.
What, like, yeah, fine. Okay, yeah. But like the ROI on Friday the 13th is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. But why not just put one out every year then,
Well, yeah, I don't know. Well, they
Or dilute the brand.
Well, they
quality.
abandoned the Friday the 13th this year because of how poor the reception was for Rings. So like that, I think critically and commercially was quite poor.
Yeah.
And
But that was, you can see the trailer for that. What you've got though is Rings is like, it's flawed in the sense that it's adapted from Japanese horror, and that there's so much lost in translation, literally from language, and lost in the translation of
imagery,
the cinemas of
themes.
both territories.
Yeah.
But you don't have that at Friday the 13th. What you've got, what I'd have liked to have seen maybe is something that knows the movie franchise and the genre really well, and did like a kind of send up of that. Right. If it had been, you played the video game, right? Friday the 13th video game. That knows exactly what it is, and it has this campy feel, if you excuse the pun.
Yeah.
And there's a level of comedy to it. Like, it knows Jason's stupid. It knows it's like not funny. It knows it's not to be taken seriously.
Yeah, silly.
Yeah, but like this Marcus Nispel version is just, it doesn't have any of that.
It's just nasty.
Humor. Nasty is a good word for it.
Yeah.
I found it very uncomfortable. When you look at the deaths in the other movies, the traditional Friday the 13th 4, Friday the 13th 6, the deaths are done in a very silly way. And I don't know whether that's because of the prosthetics look stupid, or whether it's because of the whole pantomime tone of the films in general. But generally, if someone dies in a Friday the 13th movie, there is some fun to be had in it. In this, it's just like, you feel like dirty for watching it. Like the girl who gets like cooked alive in the
sleeping bag.
Yeah. That's just like, it's unpleasant to watch for a number of reasons. One, like, she's naked and it's just like a leering portrayal. And another one, it's just like such a focus on the pain and like taking it past fun and into like a level of realism.
Yeah.
Which isn't really welcome.
Sure. Like I think similarly the death that a lot of people think is one of the most gruesome in the whole franchise is the death of Chewy, who's the sort of Asian stoner guy.
Yeah.
And he gets stabbed in the neck with a screwdriver.
Right.
And the scene just like carries on and carries on and carries on and carries on as he's like, blood just pouring out of his throat, out of his mouth. He's like squirming and like dying, basically.
Yeah.
And it lasts for too long for you to, it lasts for a length of time where it becomes voyeuristic in like an unpleasant way. Yeah. And it's like an ugly sensation.
Yeah, exactly.
You feel when you're watching
the other one is the woman who gets hit by the boat. Right. And she's all disoriented and like swallowing water and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like there's little attention to detail in it that it makes it a bit too sinister to be enjoyable. And she looks up at Jason and she's panicking.
Yeah.
You don't get that when it's badly acted and when it's like bad special effects.
Like the acting in this is not like tremendous, obviously. But I think maybe the level of average acting in films has shot up considerably since the 1980s.
Yeah.
And so like you say, in the 1980s, that girl, you probably would have laughed because she'd have like a stupid scream or like she'd be flapping around or whatever. But it is just like she's sort of crying and like really scared and communicating that fear quite well.
Yes.
And it's humorless, as you said.
As with all Michael Bay productions, I'd say. It's upsetting.
Yeah.
It's a terrible portrayal of women. Like, there's no dignity and no respect for either the actress or the actor in the case of Chu, or the character. It's just unpleasant in many ways, and that's why I think it's just like it just doesn't hit the same notes that you'd expect from a Friday the 13th movie.
Sure. And I think like we said, the actors seem actually quite capable, but they're let down by the fact that all the characters are awful, and unlikable and poorly written. Like some of the dialogue,
right?
Like we've seen bad dialogue all the way through the franchise, but this is like, like your tits are stupendous.
Yeah, they make fun of that in the movie, but
that's not an excuse. I like your nipples are like, what does he say? Your nipples are like perfectly in the middle. Or something like that.
Did he say that?
Something like,
there's a lot of it I just tuned out.
But yeah, like all of the characters are just reprehensible, basically. But it's just like sub-American Pie sort of dialogue.
Yeah.
And like it's really difficult to care about the film if you dislike all the characters. And like to compare it to a more recent film, next week we're covering It, the 2017, this year's horror movie.
Yeah, you've seen it, right?
I have seen it, and that's a film that does make you care about the characters.
Yeah.
And like, if you've seen Stranger Things, then you care about the characters. Like, that is how you make scenes scary, because the jeopardy is like palpable because you care about the people who are in jeopardy.
Yeah, no, that's correct. Yeah, that's a good point. There were no stakes. Right. One of the things I talk about a lot when we talk about films is having stakes, and it takes, like you said, 23 minutes for the title sequence to come up, but there's 18 minutes before anyone even dies, and that first death happens off screen.
Sure.
So you don't know why should I be scared? Like, what's going to happen to them? Like, I know there's something there, but like, come on, like, ugh.
Yeah.
But
like they do all, they all die.
Yeah, obviously. You know what you're signing up for with a Friday the 13th movie. But like you said before about the script, by the way.
Yeah.
I wrote down a couple of choice phrases.
Sure.
There's one which I didn't get at all, which was, I don't go fishing. To which the reply is, that's not what you told me.
Right.
So it's, I don't go fishing. That's not what you told me. And what do you think of that? What does that mean?
Is that like an Urban Dictionary type thing?
I don't know.
Going fishing.
Another thing is they keep, when they're in a tent, they keep saying, what was that? What was that? Right? What was that?
Yeah.
But we don't hear any diegetic sound. We don't know what they're hearing.
It's just like, yeah.
There's nothing there. It's like a play. Like, oh, hark! Who goes yonder?
Yeah. Oh,
rubbish.
Dreadful.
Yeah, that's pretty crap. We talked about deaths earlier. Thought it might be nice while we've still got the chance before we're done with Friday the 13th forever.
Yeah.
To just go over one last time the teenagers.
Please do. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had Jared Padalecki, who played Clay Miller. Where have you seen him before, Chris?
He was in. Was he in the OC? No. Heroes?
No.
Well, hang on. Well, it's obviously something that we've watched together, is it?
No. Well, I think you've seen it.
Oh, I don't know then.
He was Dean in Gilmore Girls.
Gilmore Girls, that was it. That was what I was going for. So in the OC and in Heroes, there are very similar looking white, like floppy hair guys.
Well, I'm watching Gilmore Girls at the moment, right? For reasons that I will not go into here.
Right.
But honestly, I'm enjoying it. It's a good series. I cut that fabulously part out because it doesn't sound. It sounds weird. Fuck. But the guy from Heroes, Peter Petrelli, is in Gilmore Girls, and so is Seth from the OC. So maybe that's why you got confused.
Maybe.
Yeah. So Dino, he's in it.
Yeah.
Juliana Guill played Bree, who was neck broken and stuck to a wall, and then her body was shot when she was already dead.
Right. So naked sex girl.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amanda Rigetti,
Mm-hmm.
her sister, Betty Spaghetti. Different surnames.
Different
fathers.
She married to.
Yeah.
Right.
Whitney is the one she plays. She was the one who was tied up and left
Burned.
in
Right. Yeah. Good.
Travis Van Winkle played Trent,
Yeah.
who was the dick.
Yeah.
America Olivo played
Right.
Amanda.
Okay.
She was boobs in sleeping bag. She had boobs out,
Right.
and then she was in a sleeping bag and got cooked alive. Aaron Yu played Chewy, who was Asian hockey fan.
Yeah.
Arlen Escarpetta. Arlen Escarpetta
Right.
played Lawrence,
Okay.
who was paralyzed with an axe
Right.
and left wounded and screaming for help while his friends couldn't help him, and eventually he was killed by having his neck broken.
Great. No, it wasn't his neck broken. He was lifted up and then thrown down on his back with such force that the axe that was in his back went through his body and out the front.
Good. Willa Ford was Chelsea, who was skinny dipping.
Yeah.
Now the thing is with this particular death, she was killed when Jason was stood on the boardwalk.
Yeah.
And she was under the boardwalk.
Sure.
And he shoved a machete through the boardwalk into the top of her head, and then lifted her body up, right? And it was just to show her boobs off to the camera, right?
Yeah, that's one of the more grotesque shots of the film.
Yeah. The thing is, right, with that, if you were to how strong is Jason?
He's very strong. End of discussion.
Now we've got Ben Feldman playing Richie, Jonathan Sadowski playing Wade, Ryan Hansen playing Nolan, Nick Mennel playing Mike, and Kyle Davis playing Donnie. Right?
Okay.
Now I was unable to work out who was who, So I'm just going to give you a series of deaths now.
Right.
Weed fan in bear trap.
Right. Yeah.
Pissing nerd in bum rush.
Right. Yeah.
Pulled through floor and torn in half guy.
Right.
Shot through eye with arrow guy.
Yeah.
And killed while sexually harassing a mannequin guy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then let's not forget Richard Burgi, who played Officer Brack, who was stabbed through face.
Yes. Ex of Desperate Housewives.
Yeah, who was he in that?
He was Terry Hatcher's ex-husband.
Yeah. A lot of
Our knowledge of like
female-oriented sitcoms.
Yeah, knows no bounds. Now you may remember in Friday the 13th 7 and the podcast thereof, we did the Friday the 13th death quiz.
I'm a big fan.
Right, so you'll be delighted to know
it's back.
That it's back, yeah. So cue the quiz music. Now you may notice that the music isn't the laboriously edited Who Wants to Be a Millionaire sound effects and music that Joe had for the previous iteration of this quiz.
Yeah.
That's because I'm editing this one.
Yeah, but the thing is with that one as well.
Yeah.
It took me maybe an hour to edit, but this is basically 3 minutes of audio.
Yeah.
And also, I fucked it up and uploaded one with just I just packaged it.
Sound effects.
Yeah. It's like 5 minutes and it's like. Yeah.
Right. Well, enjoy the quiz music that's underneath this one, whatever it is. So as with before, there's one question per film. There are 5 films still to cover. So there are 5 questions.
Okay.
And each of them relates to a death of a certain character, person, whatever, in one of the films. Are you ready? You feeling confident?
I was born ready.
Okay. Well, Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan is the first film we're going to cover. Who could forget J.J. Jarrett?
All the J's. Oh, man.
You remember? Who could forget J.J. Jarrett? The hard-rocking chick who gets herself into a jam in the machine room. But how did she meet her end?
Is it an open question?
Yes, it is an open question.
As I recall, she was like at the bottom of the stairs doing like air guitar.
No, well, yeah.
And Jason jumped from the top of the stairs and then I don't know. I remember him jumping off the like gantry.
Well, you're close. If you want a clue, it wasn't an air guitar; it was a real guitar.
Right. Well, she probably gets killed with the guitar.
She gets bludgeoned to death with her own guitar.
Right.
In this version of the quiz, because there's fewer questions, I've had a little bit of trivia for you.
Okay.
So the trivia for this one. Despite her limited screen time, JJ was one of the most popular assassination victims of Jason Voorhees and character in the film. This may also be due to the fact of who portrays her in the film. JJ's guitar skills and looks are highly praised by fans. The song played prior to her death scene is also highly praised by fans, who often wish a full version were released.
So who played her?
I don't know.
What was the song?
Next question. Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. Bounty hunter Creighton Duke had a score to settle with Jason Voorhees, but met a terrible end when he is hugged to death by his target. What makes his death unique in this film?
In this film or
In this
films?
film. In this film.
He was hugged to death. Is Jason not Jason at this point? He's like possessed
Opposite
someone.
way around.
Oh, so Creighton Duke is hugged to death by Jason, but he's also Jason.
No.
Creighton Duke
Yeah.
is Jason.
No.
He's killed by Jason.
Yes.
But Jason is someone else.
No. Oh, right. You're not going to get it. He's the only person in the film that Jason kills as Jason.
Right. Okay.
All the other people who are killed in the film are when he's possessed other people.
Every single person in the film other than that?
Yep. Duke made a brief cameo in the Freddy vs. Jason novelization, where he appears as one of the many victims Jason sees during his dream.
Great.
Jason X. Jason X features Jason's most brutal kill, according to WatchMojo.com. A fate suffered by lab assistant Adrienne. What happens to her?
She gets killed in the liquid nitrogen, I think.
Yes, she gets her face forced into a vat of liquid nitrogen, and then Jason smashes it to pieces on the counter. So I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
This death was tested on Mythbusters to determine if the head would shatter, as in the film.
Would it?
No. No, it would not. Freddy vs. Jason is the next film. During the film's climactic moments, Jason impales Charlie Lindemann on a metal wall bracket, with Charlie later dying from blood loss beneath a tree. What makes his death a milestone in the Friday the 13th franchise?
A milestone? 100. He was 100. 200th.
No, in between.
150th.
Yes, he is the 150th murder victim
Wow.
in the Friday the 13th franchise. Despite appearing in the film Freddy vs. Jason, Lindemann has no interaction with Freddy at any point.
Everyone else does?
Most people do, yeah.
Yeah. Great.
And then, of course, we come to Friday the 13th, the 2009 classic.
Yeah. I watched it last night, so
Yeah.
it should be fresh.
Great. Well, I hope you were paying attention. Friday the 13th is the 12th Friday the Friday the 13th is the 12th Friday the 13th movie, and it features 13 deaths. How many of these deaths are from Jason's signature machete?
So I'm going to have to do a bit of thinking out loud here.
Okay.
I think some happen off screen, so there's... Flippin' heck. You got the... yeah, sure. So the woman gets cooked. She's obviously out. You've got the guy getting impaled on the combine harvester.
Sure.
He's out. You've got the arrow through the eye. He's out. You've got... Shoe gets screwdrivered. You get the guy with the axe.
Have a guess?
I'm going to guess at 7.
Correct.
Yeah.
7 is correct. And the names that you were looking for were Wade, Mike, Richie, Donnie, Chelsea, Trent, and Jenna.
Yeah, I was about to say that. You cut me off.
Yeah, sorry. In total, Jason Voorhees has 166 kills.
Right.
By far the most of any horror film slasher. Do you know who's next?
Freddy.
Michael Myers
Right.
with 81.
Okay.
Freddy is next with 60.
Yeah.
Chucky follows him with 48.
Right.
Leatherface
Okay.
towards the back with 32. And bringing up the rear, it is, of course, Roy Burns with 17.
Really? Roy Burns.
Yeah.
17 in one movie.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That must have been the most in any movie, surely.
Certainly was at the time, yeah.
Has James Bond killed more people, surely?
Maybe, yeah, but he's not a horror slasher, is he?
Well, in many ways, he is. If he's been killing more than
Yeah.
200 people.
Yeah.
Right, good. Good
Well,
quiz, mate.
well
Thanks.
done.
Yeah.
That was, I think you got 3 or 4 out of 5.
Yeah, it's fine.
Count amongst yourselves at home.
So obviously we've had, like you said, 12 movies now.
Sure.
And some questions remain unanswered.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a mixture of my own questions and ones I found on bloodydisgusting.com.
Okay.
Because I had to look for I need to know everything that's unanswered.
Sure.
Not just in my own mind, but in general. And maybe we can come to some answers here. Question 1. Did Jason drown in the 1950s?
No.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
So the reason this is contentious is because his mother believes that he drowned.
Yeah.
So she goes on a murderous rampage some 20 years later.
Yeah.
And I think she killed some people in the middle as well.
Mm-hmm.
She's killed, and then Jason, the following day, begins a rampage that lasts still ongoing, really, in many ways. So the question is, did he drown? And you say no.
I don't think he did, no. I think that that's very much the sort of like original sin of the franchise is Mrs. Voorhees' misinterpretation of the events of that fateful day.
Right. So you're more on the side of he
was.
survived.
I think he was alive. Yeah, and
he survived and he lived in the woods the whole time.
Sure.
My personal interpretation is that he did die at that point,
Right.
and he remained dead until he jumped out of the lake at the end of Friday the 13th Part 1.
Okay.
And then overnight, he aged 30 years.
Yeah, fine. That makes just as much
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Which is my next question, actually. Did Jason jump out of the lake at the end of Friday the 13th Part 1?
You say yes. I say no.
You think
It was
it's a dream?
sequence? Yeah.
Right. A dream sequence that happens again in the next film? Because he jumps through the wall in that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just a coincidence.
Mate, like what other explanation is there?
That he did both and then ran off
Sure.
without killing anyone, I guess.
Right.
Question 3. What was Jason doing for the 20 years between films?
Between which film?
Well, either between Friday the 13th, well, in this last film we just watched, the 2009 version, either between when he's a child and when he starts killing,
Yeah.
or between
we just
when
don't
he
see
drowns, allegedly, and
Camp
doesn't.
Crystal Lake is already abandoned, isn't it?
Mm.
So like he might be already killing people. In fact, he is, isn't he? There's like bodies and things. Like what we see in the remake, for example, isn't like the first time he's killed a load of people, is it?
No, that's true.
Yeah, so he's just been doing that all the time.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, but let's go back to the original franchise.
Yeah.
Now, between the original events where he allegedly drowns and when he starts killing,
It's just like foraging. I don't have an answer for you
can
because there is no answer.
Can he grow to 6'9" just from foraging berries?
Oh, clearly he can.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Question 4: Can he teleport?
Yeah.
Great. And question 5: Who was the best killer? Is it Jason? Is it Pamela Voorhees? Or is it Roy Burns?
What's 166 divided by 10? 16.
16.6.
Wow, Roy Burns has him beat then. So officially it's Roy Burns.
Right. Roy Burns.
Roy Burns is
the
crowned
best.
the champion of
Yeah.
Friday the 13th based on average kills. So
I do like a Roy Burns memory.
yeah.
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 I like to think about him quite often. I'll be, walking down the street and I think, Roy Burns.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah. I feel like, you must be in like some sort of like privileged club just to know that there's a character called Roy Burns in
Yeah.
Friday the 13th
Yeah.
who, in that one movie, he was like, Jason wasn't the killer. It was Roy Burns.
Yeah. I mean, like, looking back over the franchise as a whole, it was pretty bad all the way through. I think you'd agree.
Yeah.
But, like, undeniably, it's like a cultural icon, isn't it? Like, Jason Voorhees is a cultural icon.
Yeah, he is. But put it this way, right? He's a cultural icon because we've just watched like 15 hours. No, 18 and a half hours, right?
Yeah.
Of him.
Yeah.
Like, so it becomes a cultural icon because it's like we have such a
No,
North
not just
Star.
for us. I just mean like in pop culture, the
You
hockey
think?
mask is iconic, isn't it? Like it's you see it on sale in Halloween shops. Like you see
Yeah, but
Freddy's gloved hand and
I feel like if I like call my sister up and said, "What do you know about Jason?" She would say, "Is he
yeah,
the guy
but
from
that's not an
No,
yeah,
no,
but he's
Street.
an icon. Like it's like iconography. Like
So
the hockey
the
mask
mask is synonymous with
Jason.
slasher movie.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason that Eminem wears a hockey mask.
Yeah.
Like it's not because it's already pregnant with meaning.
Right. Okay.
Like that's why.
Yeah.
And
fair
like
point.
despite how bad they are, they you sort of can't argue with that, can you?
No, he is like there isn't like. But why? That's what I don't get. It's so bad.
It's just like I don't know. It's
So
because
you-
it was I guess it was revolutionary at the time.
Yeah, all the stuff on like the artwork and the box and stuff said like it's the scariest movie ever made.
Yeah.
There's no way it was ever scary.
Well, Sean S. Cunningham famously took out a poster, like an advert in the New York Times or whatever, for Friday the 13th with the quote, review quote or whatever, what the scariest film ever made, and he hadn't even written it yet.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Roger Ebert was like he's like a sane person in all this, right? And he was like, "This is shit.
Yeah,
It's not a good film.
No.
There's no merit to it," and that's true.
yeah.
Like there's
You can't. Yeah, there's. I've found little enjoyment to have, other than in like fleeting sort of kitschy moments.
yeah.
But like, you can't argue the cultural impact.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. But it's like if you were looking over like a disaster. Like if you were reading a Wikipedia page for some like just a series of fuck ups where someone was in court over like it's the same joke you made with Jurassic World, right?
Right.
It's like if you were looking at the events of Jurassic World as an actual thing,
Yeah.
you'd be like, they fucked up, they fucked
Yeah,
up,
yeah, I
they
agree.
fucked up,
Yeah.
and that's what this is.
Look, I'm not saying that they're good films or like advocating that people should watch them or anything. I'm just saying that despite how bad they are, it's impressive the extent to which Jason Voorhees has become a cultural icon, which I think is a fair comment. Because, like I said, you can buy hockey masks in like Halloween shops, and that's the legacy of this film.
It's crazy though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is crazy. But you might be thinking, Joe, God, I just wish there was more Friday the 13th content for me to digest.
Yeah, if only.
Well, you're in luck.
Yeah, we've already talked about the TV series in the past. Remember that?
Yeah,
That
I
was
do.
another quiz we did there.
That was pretty crazy. There are also, like, I know you like to read.
I love a reader.
Yeah,
I love a reader. I love to read.
There are more Friday the 13th novels than there are films.
Of course there are.
Would you like me to tell you about them?
Yes, please.
Okay, so they sort of fall into 3 categories.
Okay.
I've read them all. Right, there are the adaptation novels, which are fairly straightforward, right?
Yeah.
6 of the 12 films have been adapted into novels, right?
Right.
They're pretty bog standard adaptations. You got
Right.
Friday the 13th 1 to 3,
Yeah.
Jason Lives, Jason X, and Freddy vs. Jason.
Okay.
And for some reason, Friday the 13th Part 3 has been adapted twice.
Right.
Like, I don't know why.
Okay.
Right. Then, following the success of Jason X, 2 concurrent novel series, or sort of series of novels. I don't know if they were chronologically, like if the narrative there was a
Flows.
through line.
Yeah.
So there was the Jason X series.
Right. Okay.
So there were 4 novels in that. Jason.
What were they called?
There was Jason X: The Experiment, which saw the government attempting to exploit Jason's indestructibility to create an army of super soldiers.
Right.
Then you have Jason X: Planet of the Beast, which follows the efforts of Dr. Bardox and his crew as they try to clone a comatose Jason and stay alive when Jason awakens. You've got Jason X: Death Moon, which revolves around Jason crash landing at Moon Camp Americana. And you've got
Camp America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and Jason X: To the Third Power, which is about the discovery of a Jason clone underneath a prison.
That's okay.
That's the Jason
That's
X.
the most interesting thing I've ever heard him do.
That's the Jason X series. Then you've got the Friday the 13th series, which there are 5 novels.
Right.
You've got Friday the 13th, Church of the Divine Psychopath, which has Jason resurrected by a religious cult. You've got Friday the 13th.
That's quite interesting.
Friday the 13th, Hell Lake, where a recently executed serial killer called Wayne Sanchez persuades Jason to help him escape back to the real world.
Rubbish.
You've got Friday the 13th, Hate, Kill, Repeat, where 2 religious serial killers attempt to find Jason at Crystal Lake, believing that the 3 of them share the same contempt for those that break the moral code.
Why is it called Hate, Kill, Repeat? Is that like Edge of Tomorrow?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? You've got Friday the 13th, The Jason Strain, which places Jason on an island with a group of death row convicts, placed there by television executives running a reality game show, while a scientist attempts to create an age-retarding superdrug from Jason's DNA. Instead, she creates a virus that reanimates the dead into zombies.
Right.
And then the final one sees the character of Pamela Voorhees return from the grave in Carnival of Maniacs. She searches for Jason, who is now part of a travelling sideshow and about to be auctioned off to the highest bidder.
Why is he part of a travelling sideshow?
Oh, he's a sideshow attraction, isn't he?
Why? Because he's big.
He's a big indestructible unit, isn't he?
Mm. Are these
Yeah.
novels or
They're novels, yeah.
not graphic novels?
No, they're novels.
Written word.
Yeah.
Someone wrote these.
The Queen's English.
That's mad.
Yeah. Some of them sound all right. Though.
Some
of them sound better than some of the ideas.
It's a high concept to say Jason Voorhees is loose in a prison.
Yeah, Jason Voorhees is like resurrected by a religious cult.
Yeah, those are both nice ideas.
Yeah. Like you could have had Tommy Jarvis like desperately trying to stop the cult from resurrecting him.
Yeah,
And then
that's what that's what the series always lacked, is like a
foil.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
The best films have Tommy Jarvis in.
Yeah, is correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and like it's just the same with Alien, right? The best movies have Ellen Ripley in because she's the nemesis of the alien. That's fuck me.
Yeah, so there you go.
Well, it's funny that you should say you were looking for more Friday the 13th action, more content.
But surely now I've run out, Joe.
Yeah, well, we've had TV series, we've mentioned video games as well, and now we've had novels. So where do you go from there?
Well, surely to the most important media of all.
Fan fiction.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I looked up, some fan fiction basically, and this one, when I read it, my blood ran cold.
Yeah.
This is the movie that never got made, obviously.
Sure.
So
Is this a dramatic reading?
this is a dramatic. Yeah, settle in. This is a fan fiction, Chris. I found online.
Now, be honest. Did you write this?
No. I'm. This is written by MLF 200811. That's the username.
Okay.
It could be MLF 2008-11. It could be MLF 200,811. We don't know.
Yeah. Maybe the story will illuminate.
Yeah. The description is this: Tommy is disturbed by his last fight with Jason at the renamed campsite, and is so disturbed he goes back to find Jason, who is chained at the bottom of the lake for forever. Note: Jason doesn't die, but he is defeated. Right. The title of the piece is Rise from the Water, a Tommy Jarvis, Jason, Friday the 13th fanfic. And then in quotation marks it says, this fanfic takes place after Jason lives and before the new blood. Right, good. So, settle in. Tommy Jarvis is walking alone at the cursed watery grave of Jason Voorhees. It's been 2 weeks since his last encounter with Jason. Tommy tricked Jason into coming to the lake and chained Jason to the bottom, although Tommy nearly lost his life. He thought of all his previous encounters, nearly murdered twice before, as a 12-year-old and as a teen at a halfway house. He reached the old campsite of Forest Green, Camp Crystal Lake renamed to cover up Jason Voorhees' existence. There, underneath the blue lake, was Jason himself. He could only imagine what was going on in Jason's head. Thoughts of revenge, sadness, murder. As Tommy stood above Jason's watery grave, he went through one of his mental attacks, growing disturbed of all his memories. His dead sister, mother, new friends, possibly his dog, the nice and bad people of the halfway house. And as the memories consumed him, he threw a chainsaw he had into the water, depressed, hoping to saw off the motherfucker Jason's head. The chainsaw revved underwater, but instead of decapitating Jason, it cut his chains.
Oh no!
Tommy's eyes widened as he saw Jason. Tommy's eyes widened as he saw Jason shake violently. Excited his confinement is now over. Tommy just stood as Jason leaped out of the lake, machete in hand. Tommy grinned with pride and he said, "You failed to kill me, Jason. When I was 12, you failed again. I confined you. And you won't kill me now. You will go to hell forever." Tommy kicked the machete out of Jason's hand and slashed off Jason's mask. The terror came as Tommy saw the face. It was more monster-like, more deformed than he ever saw it. Determined to kill him, in the greatest feelings of revenge Jason ever had, Jason picked Tommy up, raised him, and threw him at a tree. The machete flew to the ground. Jason grabbed it and raised it back, ready for the kill. And then Tommy headbutted Jason, knocking him down, escaping from Jason's grip. Tommy got up and ran to his car, where he had prepared for this fight. Jason grabbed his machete. Tommy got an axe from his car and started to swing at Jason. 1, 2, 10 times! Jason dodged the blows and stole the axe from Tommy's hand, preparing to slice him in half. At the last moment, Tommy kicked Jason in the balls, knocking him down. Tommy ran back to the car and grabbed the machete, and they swung at each other. Tommy hitting Jason in the stomach, impaling into it, and then he kicked Jason in the head, knocking him unconscious. He then grabbed a new set of chains, applied them to Jason, and began to drag him to the water, when Jason suddenly grabbed his leg and pulled each other under the water. Jason began to try and strangle Tommy and nearly killed him when a cop came. Hearing the noise, grabbed Tommy out and threw Jason further into the lake. Jason started to walk through the water, and the cop started chasing Jason. And the cop started shooting Jason with a shotgun. But Jason came closer and closer and nearly got out of the lake when the cop shot Jason in the eyes, and Jason fell back to the bottom of the lake.
Intense stuff.
That was MLF 200811, and that was
Well, thanks for sending that in.
Rise from the Water. Great. Is that the best Jason scene you can remember?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. How would you survive that?
Not go back. Don't chuck your chainsaw in the water in anger.
Yeah.
Well, that taught us a lot about Jason, Joe. And we always like to check in on him every time. And so for the last time, so let's talk about Jason in the Friday the 13th reboot after this. So Jason is he's oddly capable compared to previous films, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's quite good at everything that he does, and he seems
Yeah.
much smarter than he normally
A
is.
marksman this time.
Yeah. With a bow and arrow, which I
Yeah.
presume he learned at camp.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So do you think, like, in this they're saying that he's, like, you know, like...
He's lived in a camp. Like, he'd also be really good with an air rifle
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
kayaking and stuff.
Yeah. Swimming.
Yeah,
Something he was always quite bad at. But now he's
Yeah.
had 30 years to practice.
exactly. And he's sort of like the aggressive juggernaut that he's supposed to be in the previous films. Like, he sort of strides and runs at people and,
Yeah.
you know, he's quite physically imposing. Runs, builds traps.
Yeah.
And then the ending, is he immortal, supernatural? I guess he is. It's just like ripping it from the previous films wholesale. isn't
Yeah,
it,
exactly.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just for the sake of it, Joe, as it's the last Friday the 13th film we're going to cover, I'm going to quickly recap Jason's canonical journey, as I see it at least.
Okay.
So Friday the 13th, obviously, the infant Jason nearly drowns but survives, becomes a hermit around the lake. Friday the 13th, part 2 to the final chapter, he terrorizes people around the lake and then is eventually killed by Tommy Jarvis. We skip a film, obviously.
Yeah.
And then Jason lives, he's revived,
Okay.
and ends the film anchored to the bottom of Crystal Lake.
By Tommy Jarvis,
Yeah.
who's never seen again.
Yes. The new blood. Tina's psychic powers break the chain that's anchoring him to the bottom of the lake.
Yeah.
And he's dragged back to the depths at the end of the film by the spirit of Tina's father and chained there once again.
I remember that vividly. Yeah.
Next up is Jason Takes Manhattan, where he's electrocuted back to life, terrorizes the boat that all the kids are on,
Yeah.
ends up in New York, and then, of course, famously melts back into the child form of himself at
Yeah.
the end of the film.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's...
Yeah. And then canonically, next up is Freddy versus Jason,
Right.
where he's manipulated into traveling to Springwood by Freddy and then ends up back at Crystal Lake holding the severed head of Freddy at the end of the film.
Yeah.
Then we've got Jason Lives, where he is finally killed by the FBI, becomes a slug monster,
Yeah.
possesses people, gets resurrected in the body of his sister. Mother?
Yeah, he goes up his mum's fanny, doesn't he?
Yeah.
put
No,
it
it's
to-
his sister, obviously. Surely.
Yes. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
It's the mother of his niece, I guess.
Ah, who cares? Yeah, and then at the end of the film, he's obviously dragged to hell.
Yeah.
Then we've got Jason X, which takes place in the future, where he's captured by the military, cryogenically frozen, shipped across space, and then at the end of the film, crash lands on Earth 2.0, presumably burning up in the atmosphere, because that Jason is never seen again. We have the Friday the 13th reboot, which is the alternate version, which is the film that we're talking about now. Joe, how would you survive?
My first idea is for Trent.
Yep.
I remember Trent is the dick.
Yeah.
Jock kind
Jockey
of
guy,
Yeah. He
Not a jockey. He's a
no,
jock like.
he's too tall for that. He my advice for him is don't invite people to your house if you don't like having people in your house.
Right, because he gets very antsy about it, doesn't
He's
he?
like, oh, just don't, these guys are drinking and
Yeah,
oh,
don't do that. Don't do this. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, something gets broken. He's like, oh,
fussing.
Yeah.
Like,
He's a bit of a
obviously-
spoiled brat, isn't he?
He's not so much he's spoiled. He's just not having fun.
No.
Like this was never going to be fun for him.
At some point, he's having fun. It seems.
Yeah. So to speak, why not just take a girl there then? I mean, like just take
Yeah.
a romantic weekend. He doesn't need to have Chew and Lawrence there because they're just smoking weed and causing a fuss, aren't they? He doesn't like. They're not people who you'd invite. We've got friends who, like, if you were having a party in your pristine parents' house, you wouldn't invite them as a teenager because you
Yeah.
wouldn't want it to get messed up.
Mm.
I'm probably that friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my advice to him is just,
Don't invite people over if you're gonna.
yeah, what are you going to do? Like, it must be like he must be a fairly anxious person, and he must recognize that in himself,
Yeah.
or he doesn't. Evidently,
He should.
exactly,
like as in he should recognize it himself. Yeah.
exactly right. So yeah, I mean, had he done that as well, he wouldn't have gone there, and he wouldn't have put all of his friends at risk.
Yeah, and it's not him who like brings the wrath of Jason upon everyone. It's his guests.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
Have we ever seen Jason just attack like a couple who would otherwise have just been minding their own business? Yeah, we have. Yeah, he's killed lots of couples who mind their own business.
166 people.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. He doesn't seem to be having a good time, and what's more important when you're trying to survive? I alluded to this earlier. At the end of the film, Clay and Whitney do a water burial, as you put it, of Jason's body
Yeah.
into Camp Crystal Lake. Just leave Jason tied to the machine that
Yeah.
he's like stuck in. Like, imagine, let's just think about the amount of effort they must have gone through to untangle all that chain from round him and from the machine, get him out. Like, he weighs like 30 stone because he's a 6'9" juggernaut. Then they've got to like drag him or carry him all
He
the
was
way
like
down.
wrapped in a sheet as well. So they
Yeah,
did that.
yeah. And then like, and for no reason as well. And the worst part about it is that at some point the police are going to arrive, and no one is there to take the blame because they've fucking put the body in the lake.
Yeah, just literally destroying the evidence.
Yeah. So, like, there's no reason to do it. It's a huge amount of effort, and they're fools for doing it.
Yeah. Well, my next point was basically as soon as Jason's dead, call the police.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have phones, do they? Because there's no signal,
Right.
and
But
but just as soon as he's tangled up in the machine, just run away.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to.
I mean, like, you might think, oh, but like, because they think he's dead. There's no reason that they would do that whole water burial thing unless they thought he's dead, right? So he is dead when he's still tied to the machine. Just leave.
Yeah, and the machine's also tangled, so even if he wasn't dead, he can't go anywhere.
No,
It held him there long enough for him to die.
yeah, they'd have to. Like, he couldn't untangle himself, and we know how strong Jason is.
Yeah.
They would have to untangle him. It's madness. It's absolute madness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And like you said, it's setting themselves up for trouble.
Yeah, well, you can't really argue with it.
Yeah.
It's quite quick fire, aren't they?
It's good.
Yeah. My next one's for Pamela Voorhees.
Yeah.
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 which is if someone's waving a machete at you, back away.
Yeah. Is Pamela Voorhees in control of her, like, her actions at that point?
Well, she's been killing people all night.
Yeah, but isn't that evidence that she's not in control? Like, she's not got all her faculties.
If you had a machete, and I think there's a risk that you might attack me with it,
yeah.
I would put enough, like, arm's length plus machete distance between us.
Yeah.
And Pamela Voorhees puts herself in arm's length and machete swinging distance.
She doesn't appear to be taking much consideration into her own survival at this point, though.
You think she just flipped the lid completely?
Yeah, I think so. Like, she's what appears to be a relatively genial woman who has murdered scores of teenagers.
Yeah, but this is how to survive, not how to survive as long as you're sane.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but we can't change the, like,
Motivation.
psychological state of the characters. And the motivation of her character is clearly that she wants to kill all the teenagers with little regard for her own personal safety.
That's a fair point. She does, and even in the original, she gets knocked out like 5 times.
Yeah.
She probably would have died from like concussions
Hmm.
if she hadn't died from literally being decapitated.
Yeah. 2 different types of head injury.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
That's your Partridge moment. Yeah. Concussion and beheading. That's 2 types of head injury on the How to Survive podcast.
I've got a bit of advice for Trent as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Don't have an itchy trigger finger.
Right. Threw all the ammo away, didn't he? Yeah.
And also look after your gun, because he's walking around with his finger resting on the trigger, which like people are trained not to do, because you end up wildly shooting your gun as a reflex, which is exactly what he does when he hears Bree behind the door and ends up wasting all of his bullets on her. Then when he's running through the woods, he drops it and is unable to retrieve the gun, meaning that he's, stuck when Jason comes for him.
Yeah.
Now, so what you should have done is basically not had his finger on the trigger, like people are trained to do. And while you're not using it, put the safety on, stick it in your waistband, and it's unlikely to fall out.
Yeah.
And it's also unlikely to go off.
He wants to kill Jason with it.
Yeah. He doesn't, though, does he?
No, he doesn't. He drops it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not going to be able to kill Jason with it if he doesn't have it on him.
Equally, they make it a priority to get it. Like run to the tree, and then when Jason follows you, just run back past him and get the gun.
Yeah. The problem with the whole run into the woods tip that we normally rely on is that Jason appears to run this time.
Yeah.
So he might catch up with you, which he probably would do. Any final thoughts from you?
Yeah. My tip is for Jason himself.
Yeah.
Again, and he does survive the film. It looks like he survives the film, but we like to say, how could you survive better, or maybe net survival for the people on your team.
Yeah.
Now, when he sees his mum there and she's got someone pointing a machete at her,
yeah.
If he'd just gone, "Hey, mum, I'm here. I'm literally standing here," and she'd go, "Oh, Jason,
yeah,
good to see you, mate.
Yeah,
come on over here. Let's go home."
Yeah. Do you think that would be fine and like no police involved or anything?
Would she have survived? Maybe. Would she have gone to prison? Yes.
Yeah.
If he'd just gone like earlier in the evening, maybe, because it looks like that they didn't just happen across where he is. Presumably, he's been watching all night.
Yeah.
If he'd just gone,
"Mum,
listen, hold on."
Yeah. Maybe he had these like sort of murderous impulses from an early age.
Yeah.
Although that wouldn't make sense because it's very clearly like the death of his mother that
sets him off.
Yeah.
It's his birthday as well.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th.
Poor
So
kid.
his birthday, his mum's there killing people, and he could have gone, "Look, Mum, let's go Friday. Let's go TGI or something." Like,
Yeah. Yeah. That diner that we see in like part 2.
Yeah.
It'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah. And she'd have been made up. She'd have gone, "Oh."
Yeah, she'd have been relieved. Well, I mean, that links into what my final piece of advice, and I'm glad that we've got such similar pieces of advice to round off the series.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, just tell the authorities that you're still alive and you haven't drowned.
Yeah.
Because that would, I mean, we like net survival.
Yeah.
That would have saved some lives. And it would have made his mother very happy indeed.
Yeah.
So
166 people wouldn't have died if Jason hadn't run into the woods and lived feral.
Yeah, and become a mass murderer.
Thing is, right, the lake's quite big.
Yeah.
It's not so, like, he can get around it pretty quickly.
Surely, yeah.
He could just go to a house and be like, "Oh, hi, I need help.
Yeah.
Pretty dark stuff.
Yeah, but final piece of advice, really from both of us, is Jason, like child Jason,
Yeah.
just tell someone. It's all right. No one's going to be angry.
No.
And you'll save everyone
A
a
lot
lot
of-
of bother.
A lot of fuss.
Yes.
Yeah. Net survival as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And you saved us watching fucking
18 hours, 18 and a half hours of Friday the 13th.
So we're passing the torch from Friday the 13th. The passing the torch has already begun, really. So
Yeah.
we're passing over to the Paranormal Activity series.
Yeah, mercifully shorter than
Yeah.
12 films.
Not quite as fun though at the moment.
No, but I think it will like
It's gonna get
it will drop below the sort of like
water.
it'll become so bad that
Yeah.
it's funny again.
It's gonna drop down to the bottom of Crystal Lake. Do you think?
Yes, I
Yeah.
think so. Chained there forevermore.
Yeah. Well, there's only 3 of those left.
Yeah.
So in 30 weeks, we're gonna have to find a new franchise.
Well, if you've got any thoughts, then email them in howtosurviveshow@gmail.com or get in touch on Twitter @howtosurvivepod or get in touch on Facebook, facebook.com/howtosurvivepod.
yeah, and do leave us a review if you've enjoyed it. We're on iTunes or any way you listen to your podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
We do like 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
They are basically the only thing that keeps Jason at bay these
Yeah.
days. And we've had some emails in.
Sure.
This is from Groupon. It says the huge half price event, everything 50% off. No, not really. This is from Simon Todd.
Hello, Simon.
Simon's emailed in before, actually. So good to hear from you again, Simon.
Friend of the show, Simon Todd.
Yes. Dear Chris and Joe. Not sure about that. Should be Joe and Chris, really.
Mm.
Dear Joe with Chris. I have a slightly off-piste proposal for How to Survive.
Okay.
How about The Untouchables? De Niro is a blast, and lots of chaps die. Good cast. I know I'm a little older, but for kids growing up in the 80s, a classic. I think it even had a video game.
We haven't done gangster movies before, have we?
No.
That might be an interesting avenue.
Maybe
to
we could
explore.
pair it with Reservoir Dogs,
Maybe.
which we've talked about as well, based on a listener suggestion too. Simon does go on to spoil something, which I'll leave out for the sake of our defenseless listeners.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, best Simon. And yes, you are the best, Simon. Thank you for emailing in.
Yeah.
Next email comes from David Levy. Hello, David.
Hello.
Hi, Chris and Joe. Again, what is this?
Well, I mean, people, they're really understanding something. I
Right.
think.
It's alphabetical. That's what it is.
Yeah.
No hierarchy, just...
Yeah.
Yeah. Been listening to your podcasts since the beginning and love them. I was just wondering if you will be doing a podcast on the new version of Stephen King's It.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, may I suggest the film Dead Calm, starring Nicole Kidman, Billy Zane, and Sam Neill as a good one for you to cover.
Okay. Is that a yacht-based one, I think?
I haven't seen it.
I think Dead Calm is like...
The water.
Yeah.
They becalmed at sea, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
interesting.
might be wrong.
But yeah, well, we'll look into it, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
It, by the way, we're doing next week, so
Mm-hmm.
very timely that you should suggest it.
Yeah, and I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to discussing that. You haven't seen it yet, but I have.
Yeah.
And
Seen
yeah,
what, sorry?
great.
Um,
That won't
Yeah.
get old. at all.
David goes on, thank her again. I think it's supposed to be thanks. Thank her again for providing me with 110 hours of quality podcast. Regards, David. Now, David, that's, you're welcome.
Mm,
And it's people like you that we do it for.
yeah,
We've sat through 18 and a half hours of Friday the 13th movies
yeah.
for you specifically and
Yeah.
for all of the listeners who enjoy it. So
Yeah.
do keep in touch with us and do, cheer
Yeah.
us on.
And I've got one final listener suggestion,
Go on.
which came in via the Facebook page.
Yeah.
You can message us directly.
Stop doing the fucking podcast.
And it's from Kat, who says she's got a suggestion for the podcast. And she says, watched a really nice little handy cam horror on Netflix this weekend called Creep. It's only about an hour and 20 minutes long and has a cast of 2. It's really uncomfortable and I really liked it. I think you will also. And then she messaged again to say, I'm watching Creep again and I defo think it's podcast worthy. I'd like to officially request it. So maybe that will be 121
Yeah,
because we need something to pair with Paranormal Activity now.
that's true. Interesting that she watched it twice.
Yeah, must be good.
Yeah, that's a good
High-
sign. And
high-
also a good sign is it's on Netflix and we don't have to go out and pay for it.
Yep. So that's good stuff. So thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Yes.
And to finish on, Chris,
Yeah.
I thought where better to look than fanfiction.com. This is a song, actually. I'm not going to sing it. I'm going to read it as a poem. This is by She Elf 4.
Okay.
The description is this. This is a poem about Jason and Camp Crystal Lake, aka Camp Blood. Most camps have a camp song, so I made one up for Crystal Lake based on a pirate song.
Did you write this?
No. Author note, because who else
Yeah,
would
yeah,
be
yeah.
putting that fucking note in, honestly?
Yeah.
This is based on the Ballad of Davy Jones, which belongs to Disney. I don't own it. Sigh. She's just written the word sigh. Anyway.
Presumably she's sighing because she's missed out on all the lucrative rights to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure Disney were thinking,
We better get in there quick.
Yeah. Anyway, since Freddy Krueger has a sort of theme song, I thought there should be a Camp Blood song too.
Okay.
When I first heard the song this is based on, I knew it was perfect.
Right.
Please read and review.
Now, I can only assume this is going to be in the next Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah. Well, it's the song.
Right. To play us out.
Bear in mind, by the way, that she's based it on the Ballad of Davy Jones, which is a pirate song. That's going to become important when you hear the lyrics.
Right. Okay. So to play us out, thank you very much for listening.
Yeah.
To play us out, Joe Shovel with his poem,
The Ballad of Camp Blood.
Thank you.
The Ballad of Camp Blood by She Elf 4. They say he stalks the Camp Blood's lake, all ghostly grey and grand. He's doomed to stay beneath the lake and never set foot on land. And should you chance to see him, you'll soon be dead from fright. So counselors tell their children, a dark and stormy night. 40 fathoms deep he walks, with rusty keys his locker locks. As if he's half asleep, he stalks, 40 fathoms deep. 40 fathoms deep he owns each sleeping counselor's sodden bones. The legend they call Jason goes 40 fathoms deep. We set out for Crystal Lake, the director, crew, and I. At Camp Blood, we all set up beneath a darkening sky. Atop of the main dock I strode, at near 10 stories high. When up there came Jason Voorhees, and overboard went I. 40 fathoms deep he walks with rusty keys his locker locks. As if he's half asleep he stalks, 40 fathoms deep. 40 fathoms deep he owns each sleeping counselor's sodden bones. The legend they call Jason goes 40 fathoms deep. I hold my breath, I say a prayer for all those mates who died. I turn my back on Jason Voorhees and cast my fears aside. I raise my head, I kick my feet, and towards the light I go, the heartless jailer left behind, the locker far below. 40 fathoms deep he walks, with rusty keys his locker locks. As if he's half asleep he stalks, 40 fathoms deep. 40 fathoms deep he owns each sleeping counselor's sodden bones. The legend they call Jason goes 40 fathoms deep. What they've done, right? Like they've gone for like, oh, that sounds like because he's underwater. Now, the locker is Davy Jones' locker, which is the sea, and it's telling the story of someone who's fallen overboard and drowned. Right? It doesn't work because like Jason isn't Davy Jones. Like you don't fall in Jason Voorhees' locker. You fall in fucking Davy Jones' locker. That's the what. Davy Jones is meant to be the guy who kills you when you fall in underwater. Like this is fucking ridiculous. And like saying like all the mates he claimed, like shipmates, not fucking campmates. And counselors tell their children. Parents tell their children. You've just changed like 5 words. It's like a copy of fucking hell. It's like this is why everyone hates fanfiction. This is why. Because it's fucking shit. Some kids written this, right? And I'm not having a go at kids. Come on.
Can I say a secret?
Go on.
I'm She-Elf 4.
Thought you were.